The Arena of Mockery. The colony ship New Haven drifted helplessly in the void, its engines dead and hull breached in 17 places. What had started as humanity's third attempt to establish a foothold in the Outer Rim had become something far worse than a simple piracy raid. The Kythera Empire hadn't come for resources or territory. They had come for entertainment. Marcus Chen pressed his back against the cold metal wall of the holding cell, watching through the reinforced viewport as alien technicians swarmed over their captured vessel. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth Defense Corps Commander, but rank meant nothing here. Around him, 200 survivors from New Haven huddled in the cramped detention bay, their faces etched with fear and confusion. "Commander," whispered Sarah Martinez, the mission's lead xenobiologist. Her usually pristine lab coat was torn and stained with blood from the initial boarding action. "What do they want with us? They've had dozens of chances to kill us all, but they're keeping us alive." Marcus had been wondering the same thing. The Kythera were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors, their reptilian forms and advanced technology making them one of the most feared species in known space. But their behavior during the capture had been strange. Too careful. Too deliberate. They had used stun weapons instead of lethal force, had treated the wounded, had even provided basic sustenance during the 3-day journey to wherever they were being taken. The answer came when their transport ship docked with a massive orbital station. Through the viewports, Marcus could see the structure stretching for kilometers in every direction, its surface covered in massive screens and broadcasting arrays. Crowds of various alien species filled viewing platforms and observation decks, all pointing and chittering excitedly at the human transport. Zektar entered the holding bay with theatrical flair, his 7-foot frame covered in ceremonial armor that gleamed under the artificial lights. His reptilian head bore a crown of synthetic crystals, and his 4 arms moved with practiced gestures as he addressed the prisoners. When he spoke, a translation device rendered his words in perfect English. "Welcome, humans, to the greatest entertainment complex in the outer spiral. You have the distinct honor of performing in the Crucible, where beings from across the galaxy come to witness the struggles of lesser species." His lipless mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Your performances will be broadcast to over 40 billion viewers across 200 worlds. You should feel privileged." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific mind already analyzing their situation. "You're going to make us fight for entertainment. That's barbaric, even by galactic standards." Zektar's laugh was like grinding metal. "Barbaric? My dear specimen, we provide food, medical care, and comfortable quarters between performances. Many species pay handsomely for such treatment. Your people simply need to demonstrate their survival instincts for our audiences." The first performance was scheduled for the following day. Marcus found himself selected as the opening act, thrust into an arena the size of a football stadium, while holographic displays showed his face and vital statistics to the screaming crowd. The translation systems carried their cheers and jeers in dozens of languages, but the meaning was universal. They saw him as a curiosity, an exotic animal performing tricks. His opponent was a mechanical construct designed to provide a challenge without immediately killing him. The crowd wanted a show, not a quick execution. For 20 minutes, Marcus dodged, rolled, and fought with everything his military training had taught him. He managed to disable the machine, earning raucous applause from the alien spectators. But what happened next burned itself into his memory forever. As he stood victorious, breathing heavily and bleeding from multiple cuts, the crowd began throwing objects into the arena. Not weapons or threats, but treats, alien equivalents of popcorn and candy. They were feeding him like a performing animal. The humiliation continued for weeks. Humans were forced to navigate deadly obstacle courses, fight increasingly dangerous opponents, and participate in mock battles that showcased their primitive combat techniques. The worst part wasn't the physical danger, it was the laughter. Every stumble, every cry of pain, every moment of fear was met with thunderous amusement from the viewing galleries. Sarah's brother Miguel had been a maintenance engineer on New Haven. He wasn't a soldier or an athlete, just a quiet man who kept the ship's systems running. When his turn came in the arena, he was given a simple task: cross a pit filled with acid pools by jumping between narrow platforms. The crowd loved watching his terror as he hesitated at each jump, their laughter growing louder with each trembling step. Miguel made it halfway across before slipping. Sarah watched from the holding bay's monitor as her brother fell into the acid, his screams cut short by the deadly liquid. But what came next destroyed something inside her. The arena's sound system played comedic music over the footage of Miguel's death, and the crowd erupted in delighted laughter. Instant replays showed his fall from multiple angles while alien commentators provided humorous commentary. That night, Sarah found Marcus staring at the stars through their cell's small window. Neither of them had spoken since the day's entertainment had ended. "They're broadcasting this to Earth," she said quietly. "Every death, every humiliation. Our families are watching us die for their amusement." Marcus nodded slowly. "The quantum communication array on New Haven was intact when they took us. They've been sending everything back home in real time. Then Earth knows what's happening to us." "Yes," Marcus replied, his voice carrying a weight that made Sarah look at him more closely. "And they know why." 3 billion kilometers away, in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Helena Cross stood before a wall of screens showing footage from the Kythera Entertainment Complex. Around her, the Joint Chiefs of Staff watched in silence as the latest broadcasts showed human prisoners being forced to fight genetically modified predators, while alien audiences placed bets on survival odds. The room had been quiet for 10 minutes since the latest transmission ended. Finally, General Patricia Hayes, head of Special Operations Command, broke the silence. "How many of our people are they holding?" 217 confirmed survivors from New Haven, replied Cross. "Intelligence suggests they've been acquiring humans from other sources as well. Missing exploration teams, captured research vessels. This isn't random piracy, it's systematic collection." "For entertainment," muttered Defense Secretary Robert Kim. "They're turning our people into circus animals." Cross touched a control on her console, and the screen shifted to show a different image. Deep space monitoring stations, research facilities, military installations, all bearing the same symbol, a stylized predator's eye surrounded by concentric circles. "Project Nightfall has been theoretical for 15 years, she said. Contingency plans for a threat level that Command hoped would never be necessary. Today, the President signed the activation order. General Hayes leaned forward. "Helena, you're talking about crossing lines that can never be uncrossed. Once we deploy the Predator Corps, there's no going back to diplomacy." "They crossed the line first," Cross replied, her voice steady but cold. "They made our people's deaths into entertainment. They broadcast our humiliation to 40 billion viewers across the galaxy. They turned human suffering into profit." She paused, letting her words sink in. "It's time they learned what humans do when someone hurts our family." The activation sequence began immediately. Across 12 hidden facilities on Earth and its outer colonies, systems that had remained dormant for over a decade suddenly came online. Scientists and technicians who had worked in theoretical isolation were suddenly given unlimited resources and told that their darkest projects were now humanity's highest priority. In the depths of the Antarctic Research Station, Dr. Elena Vasquez watched as her life's work was finally given purpose. The enhancement chambers that had existed only in classified reports were now being prepared for human testing. The genetic modifications that had been deemed too dangerous for implementation were suddenly approved without oversight. "The Kythera think they understand predators," she told her research team as they prepared the first batch of volunteers. "They're about to learn the difference between a predator and an apex predator." Back on the Kythera station, Marcus felt a change in the atmosphere during the morning meal distribution. The guards seemed more alert, more nervous. Conversations between the Kythera staff were conducted in hushed tones, and several times he caught them glancing at the human prisoners with something that looked almost like concern. Sarah noticed it too. "Something's happening," she whispered during their brief exercise period. "They're scared of something." Their answer came that evening when Zektar entered the holding bay accompanied by a full security detail. His usual theatrical demeanor was replaced by barely controlled anxiety. "There has been a change in programming," he announced, his translation device making his words seem clipped and hurried. "Due to technical difficulties, human exhibitions are suspended indefinitely." "What kind of technical difficulties?" Sarah demanded. Zektar's 4 eyes fixed on her with an expression she had never seen before. "Fear. Your homeworld has gone silent. All communication channels, all diplomatic frequencies, all commercial broadcasts. Nothing. 3 days ago, Earth simply stopped talking to the galaxy." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Earth didn't go silent. Earth was one of the most communicative species in known space, constantly broadcasting everything from scientific data to entertainment programs. For all communications to cease simultaneously meant only one thing. "They're coming," he said quietly. Zektar's head snapped toward him. "What did you say?" Marcus stood slowly, meeting the alien's gaze with steady eyes. "I said they're coming. And when they get here, you're going to wish you had killed us quickly." The hunters awaken. The first sign that something had changed came when the Kithara's long-range sensors began reporting anomalies in deep space. Ships appeared on the edge of their detection grid for brief moments before vanishing again, as if the universe itself was playing tricks on their instruments. Fleet Commander Thekmos dismissed the reports as equipment malfunctions until the disappearances began. The merchant vessel Blade Prophet was the first to vanish. It had been traveling a standard shipping route between Kithara Prime and the entertainment station when its transponder simply stopped broadcasting. No distress signal, no debris field, no indication of what had happened. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Then came the Stellar Guard, a military patrol ship investigating the merchant's disappearance. Its last transmission was a confused report about detecting impossible energy signatures before the channel went dead. Search and rescue teams found the ship 3 days later, drifting dead in space with its entire crew missing. "There are no signs of struggle," reported the investigation team. "No hull breaches, no weapon impacts, no indication of forced boarding. The crew simply vanished." Thekmos stared at the holographic display showing the empty ship's interior. Every system was intact, every weapon was still in its rack, every door was still sealed from the inside. It was as if the crew had simply ceased to exist. "Have you identified the energy signatures mentioned in their final transmission?" "Unknown configuration," replied his science officer. "The readings don't match any known technology in our databases. The energy pattern is organic, almost biological." Before Thekmos could respond, alerts began flashing across the command center. 3 more ships had gone dark in the past hour, all following different routes, all showing the same pattern. Normal operations, then sudden silence. The answer to their mystery arrived in a way that no one expected. It came as a transmission broadcast on every frequency simultaneously, cutting through their most sophisticated jamming systems as if they didn't exist. The image that appeared on their screens was simple: a human in dark armor standing in what appeared to be the bridge of a Kithara vessel. "My name is Captain James Rodriguez of the Earth Expeditionary Force," the figure said, his voice calm and measured. "I am speaking to you from the bridge of your patrol ship Dancing Shadow, which we acquired 6 hours ago. Your crew is alive and unharmed, though they are currently our guests." Thekmos felt his blood run cold. The Dancing Shadow was one of their most advanced vessels, equipped with the latest stealth technology and crewed by elite warriors. For it to be captured without even sending a distress signal was impossible. "For the past several weeks," Rodriguez continued, "you have been broadcasting the torture and murder of human beings for entertainment purposes. You have turned the deaths of our people into a source of profit and amusement. This ends now." The image shifted to show the interior of the captured ship. Kithara crew members sat in restraints, but they appeared uninjured. Standing guard over them were figures in armor that seemed to bend light around itself, making them difficult to focus on directly. "We are not here to negotiate," Rodriguez said. "We are not here to demand your surrender. We are here to collect our people and to ensure that you understand the consequences of your actions. Every human you are holding will be returned to us unharmed. In exchange, we will demonstrate the same mercy you showed our civilians." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Kythera command center in stunned silence. Thekmos had commanded fleets for 30 years, had conquered 7 star systems, had never encountered an enemy that could simply appear and disappear at will. "How did they penetrate our security grid?" he demanded. "We're analyzing the sensor data now," replied his tactical officer. "But, sir, there's something else. We're detecting similar energy signatures near 12 other installations throughout the system. Whatever they're using, they're already here." The true scope of Earth's response became clear over the next few hours. Reports flooded in from across Kythera space of ships vanishing, stations going dark, and military installations losing contact with command. But this wasn't random destruction. The attacks followed a pattern that spoke of careful planning and intimate knowledge of Kythera operations. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched from the bridge of the Earth vessel Prometheus as her enhanced soldiers carried out their missions with surgical precision. The genetic modifications had exceeded even her most optimistic projections. The volunteers from Special Operations Command had undergone transformations that pushed the boundaries of human biology, gaining abilities that seemed almost supernatural. "Status report from Hunter Team 7, came the voice through her earpiece. "Target secured. Kythera Research Facility on Magan 4 has been neutralized. No human casualties. We recovered 17 of our people from their holding cells." Hunter Team 3 reporting. "Entertainment complex on Zephyr Station has been infiltrated. All human prisoners located and secured. We are ready to proceed with Phase 2. Vasquez smiled grimly. The Predator cores had been designed specifically for this kind of operation. Each soldier had been enhanced with adaptive camouflage technology that made them nearly invisible to most sensor systems. Their reflexes had been accelerated to superhuman levels, and their bodies had been modified to process toxins and survive in environments that would kill baseline humans. But the most important modification was psychological. The volunteers had been selected not just for their combat skills, but for their ability to become something that would terrify the Kythera more than any weapon. They had become the thing that every prey species feared: perfect predators. Back on the entertainment station, Marcus felt the change before he saw it. The constant background noise of the facility had shifted. Fewer announcements, fewer crowds, fewer sounds of normal operation. The guards were jumpy, constantly looking over their shoulders and speaking in whispers. "Something's happening," Sarah said during their evening meal. "They're scared." Their answer came at 3:47 station time when the lights suddenly cut out. Emergency illumination cast everything in red shadows as alarms began wailing throughout the complex. Through the holding bay's viewport, Marcus could see explosions blossoming across the station's exterior hull, but they were too precise, too controlled to be random attacks. Then he heard it, a sound that made every human prisoner look up with hope, and every Kythera guard freeze with terror. It was the sound of metal being torn apart, but not by weapons or explosions. Something was literally ripping through the station's bulkheads with bare hands. "Nobody move," came a voice from the darkness beyond their cell. "Earth forces are here. Stay calm and follow instructions." The cell door, which had been sealed with the most advanced Kythera security technology, suddenly crumpled inward as if made of paper. In the doorway stood a figure in dark armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The human inside was barely visible through the helmet's visor, but Marcus could see enough to know that this was no ordinary soldier. "Commander Chen," the figure asked, his voice carrying an odd harmonic quality. "I'm Lieutenant Torres, Predator Corps. We're here to take you home." The evacuation was swift and efficient. The enhanced soldiers moved through the station like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will, while gathering the human prisoners. Marcus watched in amazement as one of them literally walked through a solid wall using some kind of phase technology, while another moved so quickly that he seemed to teleport between positions. "How is this possible?" Sarah asked as they were led through corridors that had been sealed moments before. "Dr. Vasquez's work," Torres replied without slowing his pace. 15 years of theoretical research into human enhancement, finally put into practice. We're not quite human anymore, but we're still human enough to remember what they did to our people. They reached the extraction point to find Sektar and a dozen of his guards waiting in the docking bay, weapons drawn and aimed at the approaching humans. The Arena Master's ceremonial armor had been replaced by combat gear, and his usual theatrical manner was gone entirely. "You will not remove our property," he snarled through his translator. "These humans are valuable assets, and we will not." He never finished the sentence. Torres moved faster than Marcus thought possible, covering the 30 meters between them in what seemed like a single step. Sektar's weapon was torn from his hands and crushed to scrap metal before he could react. "Your entertainment is canceled," Torres said, lifting the 7-foot alien off the ground with one hand. Permanently. The transport ship that waited for them was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. It was sleek and predatory, its hull covered in the same light-bending technology as the soldiers' armor. As they boarded, he could see other ships of similar design positioned around the station, their weapons trained on any Kythera vessel that might attempt interference. "How many of you are there?" Marcus asked as they lifted off. "Enough," came the reply from Captain Rodriguez over the ship's intercom. "The Predator Corps consists of 200 volunteers from Special Operations Command, each enhanced for deep space operations against hostile forces. We've been hunting Kythera ships and installations for 3 weeks, gathering intelligence and recovering our people." Through the viewport, Marcus could see the entertainment station growing smaller as they accelerated away. But they weren't alone. Dozens of other transport ships were lifting off from various docking bays, each carrying rescued humans from the Kythera's collection. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. Rodriguez's voice carried a cold satisfaction when he answered. "Now we broadcast our own entertainment program." The transmission went out across the same networks that had carried the Kythera's death games, reaching the same 40 billion viewers who had watched humans die for sport. But this time, the roles were reversed. The screen showed Kythera installations being systematically dismantled by invisible forces, their crews captured and held prisoner just as the humans had been. "People of the galaxy," came Ambassador Lu Wei's voice over the images, "for weeks you have watched as the Kythera Empire tortured and murdered human beings for your entertainment. You have laughed at our deaths and paid for our suffering. Today, you learn what happens when humanity decides to hunt." The footage showed Predator Corps soldiers moving through Kythera facilities like living nightmares, their enhanced abilities making them seem almost supernatural. But unlike the Kythera's broadcasts, there was no laughter, no celebration of violence. The message was clear and professional. "The human prisoners have been recovered," Lu Wei continued. "The Kythera responsible for their capture and torture are now in our custody. They will be treated according to the same standards of care they provided our people. We suggest that other species take note of these proceedings and consider carefully before attempting similar actions against human beings." The final image showed the entertainment station where Marcus and the others had been held. It was dark and dead, its broadcasting arrays destroyed, and its viewing galleries empty. Where once millions of aliens had gathered to watch human suffering, now there was only silence. Fleet Commander Thekmos watched the transmission from his flagship's bridge, his forehands clenched into fists. Around him, his staff waited for orders that he couldn't give. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that defied everything the Kythera thought they knew about warfare. They had struck without warning, extracted their people with minimal casualties, and disappeared back into space as if they had never been there. "Sir," his communications officer reported, We're receiving surrender requests from 14 installations. They're asking for terms. And from our captured personnel. The humans are treating them well, better than we treated their people. They've provided medical care, adequate food, and comfortable quarters. No torture, no forced entertainment. They appear to be following standard prisoner protocols. Thekmos closed his eyes. The humans had made their point with surgical precision. They had demonstrated that they could strike anywhere, anytime, and that they would respond to cruelty with overwhelming force. But more importantly, they had shown that they were better than the Kithera. They had taken prisoners without torturing them, had rescued their people without unnecessary violence, and had delivered their message without gloating or celebration. "Open a channel to the human command ship," he ordered quietly. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on the main screen, his expression calm but implacable. Behind him, the bridge of his ship was filled with the same dark armored figures who had carried out the rescue operations. "Fleet Commander," Rodriguez said with professional courtesy, "I assume you're ready to discuss terms." "The entertainment programs will cease immediately," Thekmos replied. "All remaining human prisoners will be released and returned to Earth custody. The Kithera Empire formally apologizes for our actions and requests that this conflict be resolved without further escalation." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Your prisoners will be returned unharmed. Our people are already on their way home. As for further escalation..." He paused, and for a moment his professional mask slipped enough to show the predator beneath. "That depends entirely on whether anyone else in the galaxy decides that human lives are entertainment." The transmission ended, leaving Thekmos alone with the knowledge that the Kithera Empire had just learned a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Humanity had shown that they were not prey. They were not entertainment. They were apex predators who had chosen to be civilized, and when that civilization was threatened, they could become something far more dangerous than any weapon or war machine. In the depths of space, the human fleet began its journey home, carrying with it the rescued prisoners and a message that would reshape galactic politics forever. Earth had announced its arrival on the galactic stage, not with diplomacy or trade, but with the simple, terrifying demonstration that humans protected their own. The galaxy had wanted entertainment. Instead, they had awakened something that would haunt their nightmares for centuries to come. They had turned human death into a spectacle, and in return, Earth had shown them what true predators looked like when they came for their prey. The age of humanity treating other species as equals was over. Now, the galaxy would learn to treat humans with the respect that apex predators deserved.